Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another ITY video. I'm in a big building on the top of Sydney, just about, as you can see in the background, and I'm joined by Patrick Johnston. He is the VP of Worldwide Sales for Savvius. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate being here.
Now, for those who don't know, can you please tell us a little bit about Savvius and your range of products and services?
Yeah, so Savvius, let me just put up a couple of slides here, if we might. Savvius has been around for a long time. We've been around, founded in 1990. Originally founded as a company called Wild Packets. A few years ago, we changed the name of the company to Savvius to really talk about our expanding role within the ecosystem of network forensic type products as they become more into the mainstream and visibility. But we've been around 25 years. We have over 6,000 customers in 60 different countries. And we span large data centers. We have a lot of products that we sell in the SMB space as well, but in generally we've been focused on the very large data centers around the world. And so service providers, data centers is where we've done most of our business. And that spans a number of different industries. There is no real one industry where we make our case.
Good to be broad and have lots of potential income streams by helping people with genuine needs.
We have become the de facto software forensic and packet capture for the industry over the last 25, 30, 27 years now.
Yeah. Now, I understand you're in Australia for, I don't know if it's the first time you've visited the country yourself.
I've been here I've been coming to Australia for business purposes and pleasure for well over 20 years myself. I was set up one of the first internet networks between Stanford University and Canberra National University in 1989.
Yeah.
And so I've been coming here doing business and pleasure for many times.
I would have been in year 9 at the time in Canberra.
And many stories to tell about Australia, both business and pleasure.
But this is the first time for Savvius as a corporation in Australia.
That's correct. So Savvius is now looking. We've had customers here. We've been selling our software products here for a while. But
so people have found out about you, but this is the first time you're establishing a company presence.
Absolutely, and so we're setting up a joint venture with inTechnology, based up in Brisbane area, and they have offices down here in Sydney and Melbourne as well as our distributor and joint venture partner here in Australia to both sell, market, and support our products.
So that's your local distributor and partner?
Correct.
Yeah, and what was the name of the company again?
inTechnology.
Okay, no worries. Well, I'll make sure to have a link to that. So we're obviously here to learn about some of the new products that you're launching. You've got the Savvius Spotlight Suite. So please tell us about that and what makes it better and different to everybody else.
Let me take you through a couple of slides here, if I might, and it might be a little bit easier to talk about it. I mean, a little bit of our customers, it's really IT professionals who are doing network performance and security. So these are the network guys who are in the the low depths of the network, looking for different things. They're doing diagnosing.
They're embedded.
Yeah, exactly. Their needs are diagnosing network. They're locating application problems. Usually, by the time it gets to somebody's using our products in a network, something bad has happened. They have an application issue. They have a network performance issue, and they need to find that problem and find it fast.
That's why you said before forensics.
Forensics, exactly right. So looking at cloud, voice over IP, quality of service, and how to manage service level agreements that they might have. So it's in the data center, the NOC, they're in the cloud, they might be in a remote location. So we have some new products that we're talking about that not just in the data center, but taking you into that what we call the cloud edge, or in the remote office, business office, and also some products that are out for security operations centers that are interesting. So network monitoring diagnostics. We have a lot of different customers, and I'm not going to belabor this too much, but we do have a few customers that we've had, like you said, here in Australia that have found our products, and
no doubt there'll be some Australian company logos there soon.
We'll put a couple. In fact, I think on my website we have a few. I should have put them on here for this presentation. But we really have 4 different types of products, if you will, all of them based around a capture engine of some sort. So looking at the packet level data and then doing something with it that's unique and interesting. So we have our software products, which is the industry standard for this type of forensics, and then we have these capture engines for small, medium, large size data centers, and then we have some products down here, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about some of these things the Insight product, which we've just announced, which is taking this capability that we've had for these many decades in the data center and bringing it out to the remote offices and being able to have that. And it's pretty unique and a very easy to deliver, easy to deploy, and very cost
effective.
Effective PowerPoint. And then the other one that we're just very proud about, we announced we're getting a lot of accolades. We announced this at Cisco Live a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, and this is the Savvius Spotlight, which is our first foray into network monitoring and pinpointing. And it's pretty unique, and I'll take us through a little bit more detail on that and how it's different.
Yeah, go for it.
So mapping some of the technology to the appliances, if you will. Essentially, we do network traffic. We take packets, we store the packets. We do forensic. We have software that gets those packets that we've captured off of the networks at a very high rate of speed, and then we do some network forensics on it. SLAs, is there something going on? Just whatever we're doing for the forensics. Could be security, etc. And then the new thing that we're talking about is transaction analysis. So not just flow data, but actually looking at individual transactions that are being brought up and monitored through the network from a packet level basis. So mapping these to the appliances that I showed you on the previous slide, our Omni appliances, they're really doing the packet forensics and the packet storage. The Omni Appliance Ultra, which is the product we just announced this week, and that it also adds on to the same appliances the transaction analysis. So for the first time, being able to do high performance packet capture and transaction monitoring in the same device without any degradation is a pretty unique thing in the industry to be able to do that. And then of course, for those customers who just want to have that transaction analysis and have the packet capture be separate, we have an appliance that we do for that as well. So that's kind of mapping those technologies to the platforms that we had before. So the network, a little bit about our technologies and who cares about it. I think this is also something would be might interested for your listeners. We have network traffic capture, and I'm not going to read all these through you, but what does that do? So 1 gig to 100 gig, being able to take those packets and capture them to a disk, and we can do that from a couple of terabytes up to a half a petabyte and even beyond that.
And it's all happening in real time, obviously.
All happening in real time, being stored. Sometimes we'll do it directly, sometimes we'll do it with some of our technology partners in the packet broker world. But I'll let your listeners look at this. But who cares about this? From the CFO down to the network engineer, there's a relevance to what we do to everyone within the organization, and that relevance is becoming more and more interesting as networks get faster, as IoT comes out. So for network packet capture, who stores the packet? So what's capturing it, storing it, and looking at it? Do the same thing. Who cares about that, and what do they care about it? So a lot of this comes into the security space, comes into the service level agreements, etc. But we have relevance for a number of things. The packet forensics, who cares about the packet forensics, and what does it mean to the CFO all the way down to the network engineer?
It's the same set of people.
It's the same set of people, but if you look at what they're doing for, the CFO cares about productivity of his people, right? How do I get more out of the people I'm doing? The DevOps director is usually looking to the mean time to resolution, and this is where we really excel Savvius with our set of products. How fast can I find that product and get that resolution, right? I've had some engineering director or VPs tell me it's the find it, fix it fast, and fix it forever is that's their whole mantra, what they're looking for by the time it gets to their group.
Yeah.
And then of course down to the network engineer, how do I get this into my workflow? Every single day I'm getting a phone call. Every single day somebody's telling me something's wrong. The faster I can find it and get it off and get it out of my workflow, the better my life is.
And for everyone else in the company.
Exactly right. And so same thing with transaction analysis. It's very, very unique. And again, I'll take us through this a little bit. But it's the only real-time monitoring out in the market today that sits on top of a packet capture engine without degradation and shows real-time actionable information that's happening in the network, not statistical based, but the actual conversations that are happening. And so this is a real big differentiator. So we call that Savvius Spotlight.
Yeah.
That's the name of our product. And really what it does is it gives you actionable real-time visibility into network into network performance issues. So not just to identify and solve the network issues. Oftentimes when you're doing these packet captures, you have petabytes of data, terabytes, if not petabytes of data you have to sift through. How do you find that one packet that's going to tell me exactly, there's billions of packets, how do I find that one packet in real time is the one that I want that tells me what I really need to know? That's what Spotlight will allow you to do.
So, I mean, it's helping you to become proactive rather than reactive.
Well, the next step is having that information available. The next step to that is to put some artificial intelligence in it, to put some automation into it, and then be able to find that packet capture and get that resolution as quickly as possible.
And that's what this is now doing.
We're building the platform that allows us to get there. So we can load it onto our existing products as a software option, or we can bring it as a separate appliance depending on how the customer wants to get it. And we can do this up to 20 gigabytes in real time.
Gigabits?
Gigabits.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
All right, no, all good, all good.
Thank you, small b.
Yeah, that's it. And so, I mean, it really doesn't matter how large or small your company is. You know, you can manage all of that traffic.
Exactly right, and being able to take that and these flows. So not only are you getting 20 gigabits of data, you know, in well over 1.5 million flows that might be happening on that network segment, but these flows are being created and destroyed sometimes. You know, 250,000 of these things a minute can be coming up and going away. And by not just looking at the flow data, but looking at it from a packet, developing the flows from the packet capture that you're doing allows you to monitor that in real time and be able to pull these in. I think I have a. This is something that we've picked up from Gartner, and of course they look at the Google. It really is based on the 4 golden signals, right? Latency, quality, utilization, saturation. What is it that a customer is it that a network professional cares about most in his network, right? So we wanted to focus and put the spotlight on those 4 golden signals, and then you can get general statistics. There's a lot of products out there today that will give you a lot of statistics about what's happening on your network, MOS scores, TCP/IP quality in a general sense.
Sure.
In other words, it's an aggregation of a lot of flows and a lot of data. What we're going to do is we're going to give you all that information for an individual conversation in real time. Not aggregated, but the one you want to find is usually the one that's causing you the most trouble at the time. So if you're trying to find out of 500,000 active conversation, which one do you want to see right now? You usually want to see the one that's having the problem. And so when I look at what we do is we take these packets, and each packet that we collect, we assign it to a conversation in real time, and then we go back and we allow the user to interact with each conversation in real time. Search for it on IP address, search for it on network segment, search for it on how it relatively compares to all the other flows and conversations that are happening in the network, and be able to do that in real time. So you can really truly prioritize and find the query that you're looking for, and then when you're done, go and get the information. So this is the initial screen that you'd be looking at for Spotlight, and I'll run a little video in a minute that explains each one of these as you go through.
But that's our dashboard.
So this would be the dashboard that you'd be looking at, focusing on the 4 golden signals. But really, you're not looking for how are the application latencies working in my network. I want to know which of the worst flows that are happening from an application, which flows that are working that are the worst from a network latency. Those are the ones I'm going to get a phone call on. Not an aggregation of which application is having the worst response time, which actual user, which actual conversation, whether it's an IoT, whatever it is, and map it. And you can drill down on these things as well. And I'll show a little video a little bit later that drills down into them.
Sure.
And then once you drill to where you want to, whether it's a network segment, whether it's the actual flow itself, this is an individual conversation, by the way. I can click this investigate button, and it pops you right up to where all the packets that were captured around that particular conversation, and then zeroes you down to what you're looking for. And you can find it and fix it fast.
Yeah, I mean, and this could be faulty hardware, overloaded machines, it could be malware or other security risks, it could be anything.
Could be all kinds of things. It's all going to be hidden in here until you hit the investigate button and bring it up. So again, you know, flows with the worst application latency, worst network latency, TCP/IP quality, and this is an algorithm that we've come up with over our 30 years of knowledge of working on TCP quality. So we do this in real time. This screen is going to be updated for millions of flows between a half a second and 1.8 seconds. It'll be updated with each flow. You'll also be able to go back in time and see what happened, from time in the past, and be able to narrow on.
Can you go in the future and see predictions?
You know, it's an interesting question, and
you're working on it.
I will. I'll give your listeners a little bit of our cloud strategy going forward,
Sure.
and where we might be able to answer that question for you. As a matter of fact.
Okay.
So also from VoIP flows, we're finding that more and more of our customers, especially in remote offices, I'll say the help desk calls are going up from VoIP. You know.
Yeah, we've all heard those scratchy VoIP calls, sounding like robots.
Yeah, and so what happens is the user calls up and he says, I had a call, it was not going very well 10 minutes ago. Don't let that happen again. And you're with, what does that mean to me?
Yeah.
So now I can go back 10 minutes, find out where this person was, or I can watch it real time, and in the background, we'll start building some automation.
And what might it have been as an example, or something that would have been affecting that?
It could be a lot of different things. It could be oversaturation of the link, especially if you're talking about a remote office.
I mean, maybe that office is trying to back up at the same time.
They could be running an office backup. The ISP might be having problem. The cloud provider, more and more of these VoIP applications are actually going to the cloud, right? They're not coming through the main data.
And that will give you evidence or ammo to go to the cloud provider and say, hey, you didn't live up to your SLA and I want a refund, or I want something.
Absolutely. And even if it's inside of an organization, oftentimes the first one, there's an issue, and I'll call it just a user issue, because from our standpoint and from most end user standpoint, it's about me, right? What was my quality of service that I got? The first thing they'll call is the network operations center and say the network was slow.
Yeah, it's your fault.
That's exactly right. And this is what I hear from more and more of our customers is they want to find out, is it my problem? And if it's not, how do I point the finger? I don't want to say point the finger, but how do I get it to the right group to solve their problem as fast as possible?
I mean, just wasting time trying to figure this stuff out without this kind of deep level information is just wasting time.
I'll give you a very, very quick example. We have a very large retailer in the United States. They're a global retailer, in fact, and we have a network engineer on site who goes and does trouble calls using our software. They couldn't figure out what one of the issues was because they didn't have our software in the remote office. So they couldn't figure out what it was, but the guys were yelling that they thought it was the network and the wireless network. So they put him on a plane, they flew him out there, and of course once he got on site, took our tools, put him out there, he immediately pointed it back at a different problem. Had nothing to do with the network. So if they had some of our probes out in the network and saved in the flight out there, they would have been able to resolve it in about 5 minutes. Now I can tell you they left one there with him when he left. So next time save him a flight, and they'll have that resolved in about 5 minutes.
And presumably they'll be populating them in their other remote offices too.
And we're finding that, and I'll talk about that Insight product in just a few minutes here, which is exactly what I'm finding some of our very large customers doing, is when they see what we can do for them in the center of the network, and they can now have this little small form factor. And I'll talk about the Insight. I alluded to it earlier, but I'll go into a little more detail.
And I mean, this is one of the new products that you didn't have before, but is now rolling out and is available.
Exactly right, and it's available here in Australia as well. So I'll go through I'll play a little video in a little bit that goes through. So this is the Insight that I was talking about. The other product that we're talking about is taking this enterprise class visibility and putting it into a very small form factor. In fact, if I can ask a helper, I actually brought one with me.
Okay, there's one you prepared earlier, right? Like in those cooking shows.
Exactly right. Actually, the funny thing is, there's nothing to prepare. These are all self-contained units. And so it's a 1 gigabit interface, has a bypass port on it. You can do the monitoring directly, and then it also has dashboards built into it using an ELK technology, which you can either use on the box itself or put it to a cloud server and aggregate multiple or dozens or hundreds or thousands of these into those statistics.
What does ELK stand for again?
ELK is it's actually a public. It's from a company called Elastic, and it's a open source software. ELK is Elastic. Oh, I'm gonna break this up really badly. Yeah. So this is the Logstash. I know that one, and this is the Kibana. Logstash is the forwarder that pulls the network data out. Kibana is the dashboard that displays it, and E, I believe, stands for Elastic, but somebody at Elastic is going to correct me when
No
worries. They're going to hit me on that one. I should have known that better.
That's all right.
So essentially what we've done is we have taken our same products that we've had in the data center, exactly the same software, and loaded onto a solid state device, has SSD storage, either 256 gigabytes or a 1 terabyte. You can put these in remote branch offices, and you can do multi-segment analysis. In other words, take the capture that's happening in a remote office and see how that measures up with the traffic that comes back into my data center, and look at the multi-segments as the data is hopping through and easily pinpoint where issues are. Is it my ISP? Is it my SD-WAN provider? Is it the local network? Is it a cloud application that never even came into my data center that I'm getting user calls from?
It's an obvious no-brainer that anyone who's got remote offices would want it, because you've never had that visibility before. You have to guess.
And then the price point of these things, depending upon the volumes and things that you're getting them at, are between $2,500 and $5,000.
Well, I mean, you only have to have a few flights and a few wasted hours or days for that to pay for itself.
One of my large data center customers, one of our oldest customers, they have over 70 of our packet capture engines in their multiple data centers around the world, are now being asked to manage and monitor the remote office. They have thousands of remote offices, and they're scared to death, basically, that the expertise that they've developed in their data center, they now have to supply to these remote gigabit networks that are out there, and they're afraid they have to fly. So their reaction, they have orders for dozens and hundreds of these.
Yeah.
And their plan is, anytime they get a phone call that they think they have to travel to a remote office, they're going to mail this to who's ever in the office. Anyone in the office can go plug it into the router that's in the office. No setup, nothing required. Once it's plugged in, it automatically configures with DHCMP, and they can log into it instantly. And in 9 times out of 10, 99 of 100, I promise you, they probably will not have to fly.
Yeah. Well, it might even be quicker than sending a person out manually.
Absolutely. So for the price of the airplane, ride in the hotel to get out there,
Yeah.
they'll have this done. And so you'll start to see those more and more. And I'm seeing larger and larger requirements for these from remote offices. I have we have some bids out with branch offices for a car rental agency. They have 80 different car rental agencies. They've been setting up packet captures in their different lobbies with their own PCs using our software.
I mean, car rental agencies are nothing but branch offices, just about.
That's exactly right. And they've been managing those offices. And of course, when that network goes down, they're out of business in that office. And what they've been doing for the last several years is they've been buying their own PCs.
Yeah.
They've been putting our capture software that they downloaded off the internet on those PCs, and then they were managing those PCs with that capture. And you can imagine, for the price of a PC, the management of it, it's all supported.
Makes much more sense to...
It's all solid state. There's no moving parts, no fans, anything. It's all
No malware that can be attacking, ransomware, a PC
it's a case hardened. It's actually a case hardened Linux that's running on here, and they use the management control doesn't have access to it.
Yeah.
And so I'll just a little bit here, but we can do packet captures almost up to a gigabit depending upon what you're doing, and management monitoring, and all the stats are on the data sheet. I won't read these for your viewers.
Sure, yeah, they can look at it themselves.
So the other thing we wanted to talk about today, I don't know if you want to go into this now, our PartnerOne program.
Yeah, no, tell us about it.
So again, the company.
It's one of the reasons you're here in Australia.
It's one of the primary reasons I'm here in Australia is we have been selling our very high-end products, our capture products, for high-end data centers for 27 years now. And as the capabilities that are required for these forensic analysis and these tools start to go into the cloud, start going to the mid-enterprise, and mid-enterprise starts to look a lot like the larger companies, we know that we needed to be able to get a really value-added reseller channel that had systems integrations, that they could take our not only our products into the mid-level enterprise and even SMB remote offices, but also put our ecosystem of partners together.
Yeah, all the complementary hardware.
Exactly right. So our high-end customers, they can afford their own system integration. They can afford their own network engineers. But as you start getting into the mid-enterprise, they want people to put it together. They want companies to do that for them. Yeah. And there's just no way that as a vendor, you're ever going to get that kind of reach. And so one of the things that when I came to the company, I put in place was what we call our STAP partner program, our Savvius technology Alliance Partner Program.
Yep. I'm trying to think what it was, an application, but that's all.
I'm going through too many acronyms right now. Yeah. And then our PartnerOne program. So really, those two things are aligned. So looking for partners who can do these ecosystem integrations that we've spent a lot of time and energy on, not just allowing our new customers to put these things together, but giving them some cookie cutter sheets. So if you go to our website, you'll find a lot of use case stories and how to integrate with companies like Ixia and Gigamon and Appcon and Cisco and Palo Alto Networks and Fortinet and Checkpoint. And I apologize to anybody that I'm missing that we've been spending time on our STAP partners. But things that mid-level market are looking for, how do I use packet captures with these other complementary technologies?
People already have the hardware. You need to know how to work with it.
Yeah, exactly right. And so with the PartnerOne program, here in Australia, I got to hit one more button here, I think. So really to support solution providers. We've had customers here buying and using our software for quite some time. We've had a partner here, a distributor partner that we've had for several years that has learned to service our customers down here from a support standpoint. And now it's time to, I look at Australia as a very good market for us. They have the same type of data centers that we see in other parts of the world. And what we haven't been able to provide to our customers is a good support network down here. So whether our with inTechnology, we are making a commitment with inTechnology. We have employees here now that are helping to sell and put our products together. We have help desks here within technology to support our customers, and we have new hardware platforms that we can support our hardware here, with same day and next day from some of our hardware capture technology as well. So that's a big commitment that we're making here. You'll also see with the within technology, we'll be looking for specific reseller partners and system integrators who can help us put this together. We'll be making commitments for training those folks and making commitments to doing more marketing activities to help them along as well. So I won't read all this to you, but it really is back to our STAP partners, and I know I missed a few of them down here.
Sure.
I missed
Extreme Networks, Kahu, Meru. I mean, it sounds like you've made a savvy decision to bring Savvius down here properly.
Absolutely, and one of the things that's really important to me, and I've been doing this for a long time, is it's not just enough to put names on a website. It's to really have some meat behind, or wood behind the arrow, if you will. And that means that when we bring on a partner, I want to make sure that they're trained. My customers demand that. And
they're relying on them, So.
And when I bring out an STAP partner, I need to have something that we're doing support together, so that we know that their support people and our engineers have met and talked to each other, so that there's that relationship. We've put together case studies, and we've put together business cases, and we've put together use cases, and we've done testing and integration in our labs, that we have our software hardware in each of our labs. So when we go to market with these various folks, we don't take this lightly.
Yeah, you're giving confidence to the market
and that's what, when you're selling into the data center, you don't get too many chances
well,
to make
that's
mistakes.
Especially in the data center situation. It's mission critical type stuff there.
Absolutely, and so what I always caution everyone is data center isn't a product; it's a state of mind. It's how you feel about it and how you're going to support it and what your expectations are. And that's when you're selling the data center, which is what I've done most of my professional career, starting with IBM mainframes in the early '80s. So,
so what's next?
So what's next?
The video.
Yeah, let me show you a little video of what we're doing on the Spotlight product. Just give me 1 second here, if I may.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, just talk us through it.
Yeah, and I'd like to offer anybody who wants to see a live video of this, but a live demonstration of it. But Savvius Spotlight is very different. It really is looking at identifying and solving network performance problems with unprecedented speed and precision. It really is the precision that means key. The most to us. So you can start to see very quickly which flows have the worst application latency, right? You can see all the different traffic that's happening, and you can see the congestion that's happening over time, saturation, right? You see which flows are having the worst TCP quality, the conversations that are happening. And then you can start to look at what applications and protocols are saturating your network. Yeah. And this is probably the one that I think we're going to see our users key on mostly is this one. Either the network application, or excuse me, the network latency, or the MOS scores as VoIP becomes more. So once you've found that flow and you drill down onto it, and this is not just an aggregation, it's an individual conversation that's happening. And you can also represent this map, and this is something you can set up very easily with your user. You can create your own network map. So depending on how large your network is, you can see, you can break it down by IP addresses or subnets, etc. Name it whatever you want to. So once you've created these filters, then as a user, you can interact with those users in real time, set up different alerts. So for instance, if I want to make sure that I've had a problem with the MOS scores on the marketing net, so subnet, and I want to make sure if a MOS score goes below 4.2, I want to get an alarm for it.
Sure.
And then the last one,
some streaming analytics there.
yeah, so the last one that it probably went over a little bit faster is that investigate button.
Yeah.
And the investigate button is, again, think about many of our appliances are capturing 10, 20 gigabits per second, and they'll be doing that for days and months sometimes. You're going to accumulate billions of packets.
You might need a data center just to collect all that information.
Well, that's exactly right. So we have devices that we can take up almost a half a petabyte of storage. We have customers who are storing that kind of data. How do you find the packet that you want to find that's creating the issue, that's going to tell you what the issue is? And that's what the investigate. So when you couple this real-time monitoring of the worst flows, the worst conversations that you're having, and have an investigate button that automatically opens up the packets surrounding that particular flow, you save yourself minutes. We were demonstrating this at Cisco Live a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, and I can't tell you how many of our customers and how many of our future customers, when we demonstrated this product, and we were actually demonstrating it in real time, said, if I had this product this morning, you would have saved me 2 hours.
Well, you've obviously figured out the solution to the old conundrum, how you find the needle in the haystack. You've got a button for it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Sometimes you have so many things going on. I like to say you're looking for the needle in the needle sometimes.
Yeah, in the stack of needles.
Yes, certainly when you're talking about security forensics, oftentimes you're getting so many alerts and alarms going off. You're looking for the needle in the needle.
I mean, I noticed one of those things there was about HTTPS, and that could be people using VPNs, it could be malware, it could be any number of things that they're trying to hide. And I could see it in that particular example. This is the HTTPS chart was way up. So I mean, clearly, yeah, you drill super deep and you give your network guys superpowers.
Absolutely, and it's actionable. It's about getting actionable information in your hands as quickly as possible. Meantime to resolution. How fast can you find the problem and fix the problem? And that's what our customers are looking for from us.
Sure. So one of the things that I like to ask as we get towards the end is how you think this will all look in a decade's time. Look into the crystal ball. Where do you see your products and cybersecurity and network monitoring and everything else? In a decade, we'll be talking about terabits of data, petabits of data.
We're already talking about. By the way, we're already at petabytes. We're already.
No, but I'm talking about over the network.
Over the networks. Oh, absolutely.
But it won't be 20 gigabits. It'll be 20 petabits.
Well, so I've been doing this a long time where I thought 56 kb to my house was going to end all my problems, right? So, that's certainly come and gone a long time ago. I don't think it's about speed and performance. It's like you said, it's going to be about, more about visibility. And what we're seeing is the trend of monitoring networks at points and places. We're looking at security from an endpoint or security from data at rest on a server. Those days are just going away very fast, with data centers getting to be so large and IoT devices getting to be so many of them and so many of them, and
there'll be billions if not trillions,
and you're just not going to be able to lock down your endpoints. The only time you're really going to understand what's going on in your network, and your network is your lifeblood of your organization, is when the data is in motion, when it's flowing.
Well, that's the blood.
Is exactly right. And so products like this, being able to do this real-time monitoring and find things while the data is in motion, is going to become more and more important, I think, in the future. And that means both in your network, whether it's in the data center, and of course, once you get into the data center, networks become virtualized. And so how do you respond to that? So if you go to our website, you'll see a couple of demonstrations we've been doing with some of our partners, live demonstrations with our products already in the cloud. And monitoring virtual networks and virtual machines talking to each other and doing packet captures between virtual machines in AWS sessions and VMware sessions using NSX networks So you're not even touching a network, and you're still needing the communication from application to application.
Now, the other change of tack that I always do when I'm interviewing anybody is to ask if you could please share some of the best advice you've ever received to help you get where you are today.
I've been doing this a long time. I get a lot of advice, and I'm going to give you a couple,
Sure,
if you don't mind.
please.
I'm also a pilot, so I often refer to a lot of these. I turn these into pilot stories, by the way.
Must have a lot of checklists then.
Yes, anybody who works for me, I live on checklists.
Yeah.
Probably the most important one that I got was from one of the first startups that I worked for, and another aviator that I worked for, and it was actually, I worked for him down in Australia, believe it or not, my first time coming down here, and he always told me, if you're not, I'm not going to worry about the mistakes that you make, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. It's more about how do you recover from those mistakes,
your reaction,
right? And you can spin that a number of different ways, and don't try to focus on making the right decision. Focus on making the decision right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that means as long as you get that goal, you're going after it. That's one. And I like to do that. The other one that the same guy, by the way, told me was focus on the customer. If you're providing a product and a customer, I can tell you I do a lot of startup companies. I work in the Silicon Valley for the last 30 years, and oftentimes people you'll hear them talking about what's the exit, what's this, what's the next, and I always tell all my guys and my customers, I don't focus on that at all. I never have. I focus on delivering the best products that I have and delivering it to a service that my customer needs, and the rest of it comes. It'll just come. You don't have to worry about it.
Because you're looking out for fundamentals.
And any of my sales guys, and if they're watching this video, they'll have heard me tell this to them many, many times. When they come to me with an issue, what should I do? My first thing that I tell them or I ask them is, what's best for the customer? And let's start there, because I've never gone wrong doing what's best for our customer. Sure. And the partners usually fall in line, the engineering falls in line, the product falls in line if you're taking care of your customer first. And so I'll equate that to an aviation story for you. A very good friend of mine is Chuck Yeager. I do some work with him, and I don't know if your readers or listeners know.
I've heard that name many times. I think he had a number of flight simulators.
Exactly right. And so first guy to break the sound barrier. Well, he was invited down to Toulouse to fly the Airbus 380 one time. Right as they were releasing it, and then I asked him, I said, what's it like flying a big plane like that? And he said, well, you fly the cockpit and the rest of the plane comes with you. And so I always look at the customer is my guy in the cockpit, take care of that guy, and all those other things, your engineering decisions, your financial decisions, everything will come along with you if you take care of that guy first.
If you don't look after the customer, your exit is a kick up the bum onto the street. And that's what it comes down to, right?
It really is. If you can't figure out how to solve a customer problem and do it better than anyone else, if you can't figure that out, you're not going to be able to figure out how to sell it. You're not going to be able to figure out how to make money at it.
Well, it's all about bringing value to the world. I mean, that's America's great success. Adding value and making life better for other people. But I wish other countries would, do some of that sometimes.
Well, there's that, and also I also feel that I'm a big proponent of working in ecosystems. So in general, not any one technology or company can do anything. And so the first thing I did when I came to Savvius, I put our STAP program in place. I hired a very, very one of the best industry guys to run that program for me and put it together. That was my number one thing, because that's how we're going to solve our customers' problems, is by fitting into his ecosystem of all the other components and players that he has already in his network. And if we can't figure out how to fit into that, that's step one, basically. And that was the first thing that I did.
So do you have any final messages for IT Wire readers and viewers, and for your current and future customers?
Well, listen, I thank you for this opportunity. I do. And I think, the interesting thing is this is an old technology. So why is it that it's becoming important, again, if you will? You're hearing more from us from the analysts. You're going to hear from Gartner on us. You're going to hear in the papers from us. Our company is growing again. So why is that? And I think what really is happening is, if I look back over my career at all the, I'll call them the big technology battles, the Ethernet versus Apple Talk versus which one, TCP/IP versus SNA or token. Yeah. So which ones won, the fight, and why did they win? If you look at it, it was really because Unix beat out all the other operating systems. Why? Because they had better tools, right? They had better tools for visibility. Why did Ethernet win out over all the other tools? because all these college kids, Metcalf put it into the public domain very early. There were a lot of tools. It wasn't about performance and speed. They had more tools for visibility to fix the issues when they had them, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Why did TCP/IP beat out DECnet, SNA, OSI? Because they had a lot of tools that were coming out of the universities in the public domain that allowed them to do that. Why is IoT? Why is cloud computing? Why are all these different competing technologies as we're moving from on-premise to off-premise? Why are they going to become, why is technology like ours becoming interesting? Because we are the ones that allow those technologies to be monitored and managed and fixed resolution. And I think that's where I see our future going. And I'll tell your viewers, if you're looking at getting remote branch offices, getting into the cloud, putting up a big farm of IoT devices, if you can't get your hands around that data in motion, that's what's going to enable you to bring those technologies out. You need products like this, and that's why you're seeing so much more interest in products like ours.
Well, Patrick Johnston, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today, and wish you the best of success in Australia and globally.
It's always glad to be back here. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.